On Tuesday, I was a guest, an hour-long guest actually, which was a lot of fun on Yahoo Finance's broadcast, and they asked for a word of the day, which is normal for their guests, and I gave the word hopium as my word to talk about. And of course, with the constraints of time and other and other people involved on live television, I couldn't really get through it to the degree that I wanted to. I think I got my point across. But now that we have a little more time and freedom, let me give you my read on this one. I chose the word hopium, which is sort of a weird conjugation of hope and opium, to describe sort of the addiction that the markets have right now to all the hopes of good news that are on the horizon. It's not a new phenomenon, but I think it's particularly acute right now. Think of how many times you've woken up to the headline, "Trade talks progressing nicely," or some variation of that. And it's interesting because each iteration seems to be a little less valuable to the market. Last couple of times we've seen it, the market sort of opened higher and then drifted a bit lower throughout, rather than continuing to rally on this. That's partially why I think that when the trade talks finally do come to an end, and it's been my contention that it's in the interests, more China's interest than the U.S. interest, to sort of play a stalling game. But when they do come to an end, I'm fearful that this becomes a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event, because I think we've heard about imminent good news coming on the trade front for months now. And I think after a while, the market just gets tired of it. But that's still out there, the hope of this. And then there's the economic hope. The talk of green shoots in Europe. There might be some improvement that's being seen in Europe, but I would say with $10 trillion worth of debt trading with negative interest rates, we're far from seeing what I would consider a meaningful recovery in Europe. And talk of improvement in Asia, and a lot of that is predicated on some reasonably good numbers in China. Most recently, I think a 6.4% print in GDP. But the problem with China is there's a lot of mistrust in the market among economists for those numbers. But the stock market, general investors, seem to like it. So my fear is that we've become addicted to what's coming next. What's the Fed going to do? The market has flipped from a likelihood of an interest rate rise to a 50% chance of a rate cut by the end of the year. That doesn't really add up, does it? Because if you're hopeful of an interest rate cut and yet hopeful that the economy is rebounding, they're probably both not going to happen. So I think investors should be hopeful. I think it's an investor's job to be optimistic yet skeptical. And so when I start to worry that people are a little too hopeful or too addicted to the hopeful stories that are coming out, even if they become a bit repetitive and less informative, that's when I start to think that hopium, the term that I've been using, comes into play.